Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, and it's an hour earlier in the UK because of US time. So welcome everybody. You're watching live on A1R Radio and Moonstruck TV. Also watching and available on Catch Up. Tonight, I just wanted to do a little bit of a recap, so we're keeping up to speed with what's happening. For example, it's an hour earlier, but it's not, because it's really just now. There is only now. And that's really what this show's about, learning to live in the present moment, living in the now. It prevents fear, worry, anxiety, illness, and all kinds of problems caused by mental stress and anxiety. So just a quick recap, 2018, depressed, alcoholic, decided to do a road trip across America, something like 3,000 miles in 33 hours. At the end of that road trip, I had a massive epiphany and realized that life was about more than trying to get to an end goal, trying to achieve something in a future time that I now realize doesn't exist. So going back, I finished the journey, realized that there were times I should have stopped to enjoy the moment, didn't, came back home, studied the brain, how the brain works in terms of energy and neuroplasticity. We can alter the brain primarily by the way we think. Science has shown that scans have proven that certain parts of the brain are activated with happiness, other parts of the brain are activated with anxiety and stress. So I kind of read The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. I'm sure most, if not all, are aware of Eckhart Tolle and the book. But primarily the thing that really got me was the beginning, when he said he woke up one morning and thought to himself, I hate my life. I've been there. I'm sure many viewers have been there. Many people we know have been there. I hate my life. I hate my job. And the use of I and my, as Eckhart says, implies there's a subject and an object within that sentence. But as a human being, we can't be the subject and the object. So therefore, there must be more than one person in there. And really, it's not a separate identity. It's the egoic mind. It's the mind that we are programmed to listen to. You know, I see many people putting quotes on social media that little voice inside tells you the truth, and it's the one we should listen to. We shouldn't be affected by outside stimulus. And it's not the voice we should listen to. It's the egoic mind. It's the part of the mind or consciousness that is trying to protect us and stop us from dying. It links back to fight or flight, which we know now we don't really need to worry about a saber-toothed tiger tearing us apart. But we've transferred that thought and that emotion into everyday problems and everyday life. They are the saber-toothed tiger sitting around the corner waiting to strike. The thoughts we have are based on that egoic identity. It's this self-made identity, the one that we identify with from our upbringing, from our environment, from our relationships, the voice that said, don't do that because this will happen. And that's the key. Don't do this based on what's happened in the past, or this will happen based on that thing happening in the past and repeating itself in the future. So studying the brain, studying books like The Power of Now and The Chimp Paradox by Professor Steve Peters, The Source by Dr. Tara Swart, The Answer by Alan and Barbara Pease, all focus on not listening to that voice and proving that really time is only now. When we lived and experienced things in the past, they happened now. And when we experience things tomorrow or in the future, that's when it will become the now then. So we're tending as humans, and it's important that we think about the word or the term human being. We're not human doings. We are beings. So just be. Mindfulness, I talk a lot about mindfulness on the show. Mindfulness is about stilling the mind. And stilling the mind is really only about quietening the egoic voice inside your head, the voice or the person that we identify with, which is not the real us. In future shows, I'll go back over narcissism, which I've spoken about before, but I'll also concentrate on the law of attraction or the universal law. In effect, we are what we think we are. Okay, so I mentioned it before, and again, this is kind of like a live but a recap show. We are all, every single person watching this show is exactly where their thoughts have brought them. All right, it's difficult to swallow, I understand that, but we are exactly where our thoughts have brought us to. We had an issue, we decided or we thought what to do for the best, we did it, and it brought us here. Over several years or several generations, we have environmentally and by our parents and their parents have been brought up to think this is the way to go. That way to go is really only a defense mechanism. The reality of it is that we can only affect things now in the present moment. So if we have a problem that we think is going to happen, we call that catastrophizing. We catastrophize, look at the worst case scenario, and then start to act in a way to try and prevent that event from happening. And I'm sure, and it's happened to me, I'm sure that you've worried about a situation that's upcoming and worked out what you're going to do and how you're going to do it, and felt that knot in the stomach about the fear of it and the anxiety of it coming to pass. And then when it comes, it either wasn't as bad as we imagined or it didn't happen at all. And so all that time, that period of time, we were worrying or anxious about the outcome. The brain is creating chemicals which will effectively injure the body. It will cause dis-ease. So that's where the term disease comes from. Neuropathways are created, chemicals are created, and that will stop the body or the organs from vibrating at its natural universal level. That is what I'm going to talk about when I do the show about the law of attraction. If we vibrate at the spiritual level, the universal level, the psychic level, if you want to call it that, because we know that there are many, many, many dimensions. We are not just us, we are consciousness in human form. And I say human form lightly, it's simply the way the brain perceives our form at this moment. This physical form that will eventually die, but the consciousness and the psychic level and the universal energy goes on. So while we're talking about thoughts, those thoughts are energy forms. You can't think of, as I said last week and the week before, think about the living room, think about the bedroom, think about the office that you're working. You can't manifest that, but the thought is an energy form created by your mind. So while we're thinking, if we're thinking that, we're sending out energy. If the energy we're sending out is vibrating at a positive level or a positive frequency, that's what you're going to get. So imagine you've got a radio in your room and a radio station is on one frequency and the next radio station you want to get is on a different frequency because they would overlap if not. We simply turn the dial and that frequency then moves and changes. So those thoughts that we're having are gone. They're moved and changed until we actually turn the radio channel to the frequency of the radio station that we want to listen to. If that's the case in terms of radios, it makes sense that that's exactly the same thing with our thoughts and our brain energy. So we create that worry, that anxiety, that fear, that stress. We then start to vibrate at the lower radio station level I was just talking about. So to achieve that next radio station or the higher level, we simply need to retune our thoughts. So the positive thoughts, the love, the joy, the gratitude, and that's very, very important. Be grateful for what you've got. Be grateful that you're here. The universe is here for you, and you are the universe. So once we start to throw those thoughts out, we're throwing that energy vibration out there. Now, like a magnet, the universe can only return that energy to the source, which is yourself. So send out the magnetic positive vibes. Forget I and my and me. This is my arm, but it means it belongs to me. It belongs to the consciousness. It's not a separate entity. And I know, having been serving in the military, I know many ex-service people with false limbs, and I'm sure many of the viewers do as well. And you'll speak to one of these people, and they will always say, "This is my leg," and yet it's made of titanium or plastic or some form of man-made substance that replaces the limb that was there, but they will still refer to that as my leg because it's part of the whole. So the whole human body is energy vibration. The internal organs vibrate at an energy level. When I studied Taoism in China, they talk about parts of the body that relate to emotion. For example, the liver, it's linked in with anger. Now, before my epiphany, before my road trip, I was a very, very angry man. I won't say an angry young man because I certainly wasn't very young, but I was angry, very, very angry. And then years later, I'm diagnosed with liver problems. I'm drinking too much because I'm angry. I'm drinking too much because I'm depressed. But my liver was affected because I was always angry. So it was just a quick recap. I want everybody to think about positivity and love. And I get nothing but love and positivity from the guys on A1R Radio Network. Absolutely fantastic. And all the other speakers and all the other presenters, absolutely fantastic. So it's putting that love out there. And if you put the love and gratitude out there, you'll get love and gratitude back. Now, previously, much to Dave's anger, I've overrun. So I'm going to call it a night tonight and finish on time. So thank you for watching. Leave your comments on Catch Up. Hit me up on Long Road to Richmond on Facebook. And I'll see you guys next week. Thanks for checking in. Take care.